This is the SuperCoach NRL official podcast, Round Preview, with Tom Sangster and Rob Sutherland.
Hello, SuperCoaches. Welcome to our live React Teams podcast. It is round 12 and there is plenty happening in fantasy land. The buys are just around the corner. Origin is just around the corner, so we've got to start planning for that. A couple of key outs in Cameron Munster and Taylor May as well. So it's a big planning week. Rob Sutherland is along for the ride. Your team has made a little bit of a comeback recently, I see.
They did, much to your disgust.
Yeah.
Tom was basking in the glory of his 1,400 and something points today with a bit of an office conversation, and someone said, "Oh, Rob, where are you?" And Tom just yells, he's down the bottom, he's rubbish.
20,000.
Yeah,
I think is what I said.
Yes. I was like, go and check the ladder, buddy. Speaking of ladders, where are you placed in our work competition?
So, I have the third most points
It's not what I asked.
in the league.
Not what I asked.
I'm ranked 2,000th.
Not what I asked.
So, going relatively well. Ranked 16th in that league.
16th. You know what that
Let's
is?
keep getting beaten.
You know what that is? That's because that's the one thing you can't call your mates. Like, you can't call your mates at the scoring and go, "Hey, can you fix this for me?" I mean, I saw you've got some extra points for Edwards. You had some extra points for Fafita. It's
I got
shocking.
lots of points taken off too, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean,
Got that out of our system.
that league is just a disaster because I just cannot win, even though I know that I've got one of the best teams in it.
Oh, it's sad.
Live React Teams podcast is happening.
Back to business, yes.
In about 4 minutes or so, the teams will drop. We'll have heaps to get through. The most important being Taylor May. Obviously won't be there, so he is the most popular sell this week. Who would you be going to? Do you own him?
I don't. No, I sold him a while ago. It's interesting. You've put me right on the spot, Tommy. I wasn't expecting...
Even though it's on the run sheet.
I'd be getting far longer. That's what I'd get. It's only a 2-week play, 3-week play, but I like it. Don't have the jewels to make that work for like a KO weeks. Has probably better job security because Pappenhausen will come back at some point. But yeah, Farlongo. How about you?
Yeah, I like Farlongo. I like Blaze Talangi, but I own them both already. Plus, we've got Origin coming up. This is the week to save trades, I think, because we will have a lot clearer indication next week on who the best guys are for round 13. Origin teams will get announced probably on... They usually get leaked on the Sunday and then they get confirmed on the Monday.
Yeah.
So we'll have a really good idea of who's playing. So I'm going to sit on my hands, not trade this week, and then go Taylor May to someone next round. It'll probably be Joey Manu if I can create enough cash.
Oh, fair enough. I'll only be making one trade this week, which is rare for me.
The other question is, I mean, there's no cheapies this week, no genuine cheapies, but there are some mid-rangers or sort of borderline cheapies who could be really good options. You mentioned a couple of them in Farlongo, Talangi, Kyo Weeks. How would you rank those guys?
It's a good question. Talangi, then Farlongo, then Weeks. Simple reason is they're a two-trade guy. None of them are keepers. So you're only trading them to get some cash. And Talangi's got like a BE of -70, I think. So I think he's going to make you the most cash. He also plays 13, 14, so he gives you good buy coverage. Then Farlongo for the quick cash. Weeks has a better job security. Is going to be a longer cash generator.
Yeah, the thing with Weeks is I just can't fit him in with his positioning of 5'8" fullback.
Yeah,
it's very awkward. Talangi I own and I'm very happy. And while he is playing fullback, you play him in your 17 every week. Gutho's back soon, but they've got the new coach. Talangi's playing so well that he has to be in that 17 somewhere. Is it at fullback when Gutho comes back? Maybe not, but certainly I think he's in that 17, maybe even in the starting 13 somewhere.
Look, it's tough. I mean, because it's a new coach, so you got no idea. But I think there's a chance he goes out. Will they move Gutho into the centres? I suppose that's how I make it work. But it's all ifs, buts, and buttercups, as my grandmother used to say.
Teams are going to drop in about 1 minute, and we've got our eyeballs on them. Valentine Holmes, very popular sell this week. Would you be selling? I mean, I've spent so much money on getting him in that the old saying is never sell a keeper, and that's not true these days with buy coverage and all that sort of stuff. But and the amount of trades that we have, but still, I'm finding it very tough to sell Valentine Holmes, even though his form hasn't been particularly good for SuperCoach recently.
No, I'm not going to sell a goal kicker and a good base stat centre wing who's in a team that's a little bit out of form, because I believe they'll find their form. And Origin in the past certainly has brought players back into form. You know, he goes out of the Cowboys, which is a bit of a spluttering team, goes into Origin camp, finds his mojo, comes back and hits it. So, no, I wouldn't be selling.
Just really quickly before teams drop, and they're dropping right now, your best buy purchase. Who is it for me? I'll start. Joey Manu is the guy who I really want to get into my team. The issue is he's extremely expensive, but with guys like Taylor May out, I should be able to create that cash for next week. He should. Buy coverage is great, covers the first 2 buys, and should play fullback if Tedesco plays Origin, which is looking likely. Who's your top buy purchase?
Dylan Brown. Para 5'8", who's now at halfback. Moses is a little further away than we thought, so he's going to stay as the dominant playmaker. Covers the buys. I believe his grandmother once went to Queensland, so there's a chance he could go out for the Maroons if they lose another 5'8". But if not, won't be playing Origin. And I just think he works really well with the likes of Matt Burton.
The teams are in. We'll start with the Bulldogs. They've got Jamin Salmon back from that staph infection, which means Josh Curran goes back to the bench. Thoughts on Josh Curran? Because he's getting frustrating. He's only averaging just over 50 in the last 3 rounds. But he does play the next 2 big buys. So I can't justify selling him. I think I'm going to have to stick with him. Maybe not play him every single week, but certainly in those big buys, he will be handy.
He is frustrating, and it's the frustration of when the Bulldogs are at full strength. You know, he doesn't get the minutes that he really needs. I am looking to turn him into a Tarpany, who I think will have a really big week this week with Papali out. But I'm not going to trade this week. But I'm looking, or the other one is I don't have Fanua Blake. And I think Fanua Blake's going to start to leak some cash after that. You know, he was held to 30-odd against the Panthers. So I think that's where I'll be looking, yeah.
The other guy who's really popular is, of course, Matt Burton. I got on last week knowing full well that he'd be a great chance for Origin. He's probably even a better chance for Origin now with Bradman Best going down, so he could even play centre in that team on top of the other positions that he's in contention for, like halves, 14, 18. So I think he does play Origin. Do you go out of your way to buy him this week?
No, not. Like, I did the same, Tommy. I got on him last week because I thought it was a good matchup, and he's in great form, and he scored 80 and almost got through for a couple of tries with line breaks on top of that. Probably vice-captain him this week. I'm tempted, but I wouldn't be buying, no.
Just pointing out as well that with the buys coming up, we do have a buy planner inbuilt to SuperCoach Plus. It's $24.95 for the season, or you buy a code subscription, $59 for 12 months, or just $1 for the first month, and you get SuperCoach Plus and all the articles as well. So 2 great deals going there while you're looking to set up for these big buys, which are starting from next week. Who have we got next? Dragons.
Sorry, Dragons. No one cares.
No one cares.
No,
Yeah.
Moving on. Lay Lewis back. That's the change, yeah.
Oh, Jacob. Any love for Jacob Carraz back to the Bulldogs? He's averaging
80?
82 over the last 5.
Yeah. Yes, but there's so many good centre wings. I mean, it's a real struggle to fit them all in, and that would be if I had the luxury of trading and I was trading Holmes, Carraz would be very high on my list.
Yep. On to the Dragons. We've got nothing doing there except for Luciano Leilua back. Cowboys. Anything standing out for you there except for your man Sam McIntyre?
Yeah, it's who they're playing against. You have a look at the West Tigers backline, and it is bits and pieces. Like Josh Folletti is a good young player, but he's young, and Declan Casey is, I don't know. And Solomon Alemato.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
I don't know. And I'm sorry, I should. There's not a lot there. So I think the Cowboys, if you've got Scott Drinkwater, he's automatic vice-captaincy choice this week, if not captain.
Good call. in this team, so Scott Drinkwater, still pretty popular. He's got a decent buy schedule. Are you going out of your way to buy him this week, or was he more of a last week purchase?
Drinky?
Yeah.
Oh, I got him last week. Look, it was him or Edwards, and yes, Edwards scored more points, but Drinky cost me 200k less, so I figure I kind of came out ahead there.
And talk to us about your great pod purchase as well in Sam McIntyre.
I can hardly claim him as my own personal property. There's been talk about him, but he's going great. So he classically was an edge forward who's moved into the middle. He put on some pounds, and he's doing a great job through the middle for the Cows. He's dual position, and when Ruben Cotter goes to Origin, then I think McIntyre gets even more minutes. And becomes more relevant. At what, 350k? I think if you're looking for a downgrade forward, he's a pretty good one.
Yep, I don't hate it at all. Onto the West Tigers. Obviously, the centres are out, both suspended. So Josh Flaherty comes in. He's a guy to keep an eye on. I reckon he is talented enough that he could get this debut and then stay in the team for a while. So keep an eye on him. Buy schedule's not great, but I definitely keep him up your sleeve as a cheapie for later on.
He was one of my black bookers coming in to start the season, as was Lachlan Galvin, and Galvin's gone on to go pretty well. And you got to say that, like, Brent Naden's not putting a lot of pressure on him, and that Brent Naden was bad. And has been bad for a couple of weeks. His attack's okay. His defence is rubbish. His discipline is terrible. So you'd think Flaherty only needs to be going pretty well. I mean, what's Benji got to lose here? Right?
Well, Benji had an incredible blow-up after the game where he roasted his entire team, particularly the bad discipline, and it was basically aimed at Naden and Olam, who were the two guys who got sin-binned for what were pretty much cynical moments.
Yeah.
And they both ended up in the sin bin at the same time, which just cost the West Tigers big time.
Yeah.
So if you are looking at that team and thinking who Benji Marshall might be trying to get rid of, you'd think that those two centres are the top of the list. So Flaherty might have a good shot at that position.
Yeah. The other one at the Tigers is IPAP sitting there at second row. That's not good. He was excellent at lock before he got suspended. I don't like him as much on an edge. I know he does move into the middle, Tohu-esque, and get some work done, but he's better picked at 13.
At the Sea Eagles, they got Jason Saab back on the wing from that shoulder injury. Nathan Brown's back in with Matt Lodge out with the bicep injury. Nothing else teams-wise, but Supercoach-wise, they're a handy team. I know they don't play round 13, but their bye schedule after round 13 is great. So guys like Tolu Koula, who is popular this week, I wouldn't be getting on this week. I'd be waiting till around 14. And also Hamoli Aloka-Atu, if he doesn't play Origin, could be really good purchases for 14.
Very much so. Hamoli I think he was averaging well into the 70s before he went and got suspended, had that long break. And Koula, the BE's not too bad, and you don't want to rush in against the Storm, so that's a wait.
Yeah, I'll be waiting. He will be costing more in round 14, but I'm happy to wait on Koula. He is very popular this week, though, and I wouldn't begrudge anyone for getting on because he did look sensational when moving to that fullback spot. Onto the Storm, they've got Jerome Hughes back, which is big news for them, especially given Cameron Munster is out with that groin injury. Supercoach-wise, what have we got? Lots. Fa'alongo. I own him. I'm really happy. If you don't have him, get him.
Eli Katoa?
Eli Katoa, not for me because he doesn't play round 13. So if you're getting a keeper in for this week, they need to play round 13. Cheapies and money makers like Fa'alongo are slightly different.
Yeah, fair point.
Harry Grant, are you going to sell him over Origin?
No,
because he does have the best buy schedule that you can have for an Origin player, assuming he backs up, and we've got no idea whether he will or not, but could only miss 3 games over that Origin period.
Yeah, plus in Origin he shares the role with, provided there's no more injuries, with Hunt. So it's not like he's out there playing 80 minutes and flogging himself. So, I can see that he'll be asked by the Storm to back up because they kind of need it.
There's a new podcast series out called En Route to Paris. Now, I believe, Rob, you've got a different pronunciation of that.
Paris, I believe,
Paris.
Tom. Yeah, I go with Paris.
En Route to Paris.
Yeah, no, I was just being a bit of a... I can't even say the word. I was just being difficult.
It's pretty standard.
Yeah.
But that is out, and they've got lots of big names. Ariane Titmus is the latest episode. What makes our Aussie athletes tick, their greatest fears, what's driving them to game's glory. So check that out wherever you podcast. At the Raiders, Kyo Weeks is obviously very popular. What do we got? Joe Tapine.
Tapine's interesting to me in that he's just about to start that sort of, that I'm hoping that Joe Tapine second half season run, and there's a really good sort of with no Papali out. With Papali out, maybe he plays 60 plus minutes, and this is a game that kicks him into gear.
Yep, and with Adam Fanor-Blake, as you said, producing his worst score of the season, plus AFB can't keep up scoring tries.
You just say that because...
It's true, though. I mean, it is true.
Big Tom Hazelton can't keep scoring tries.
And Mark Nichols as well. How good are the props going on scoring tries?
I don't think it's fair to throw Mark Nichols into that category of those two guys.
Weapons.
All right. I know you've got a soft spot for him.
The Roosters, what do you see there? Joey Manu's back from the concussion.
Just general excellence. They will miss Connor. Connor Watson... It's an interesting one in that he's already climbed to 700k and he's out for 4 weeks with a throat injury. I would be realising that cash rather than holding, because he got there because of injuries to Radley, he got there because of injuries to Sam Walker, and then he got there because of injuries to Brandon Smith. So he needed that perfect sort of sequence to get there. Oh, Radley at 12.
Radley on an edge.
That's interesting.
Yep. So... Nafahu White actually is playing in 13. Mm-hmm. The week after we gave him dual position as a prop, he's now starting as a lock. There you go.
It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if Egan Butcher slots into 12 and Radley goes to 13. So let's just wait and see how that looks in the end.
Dom Young is killing it, but probably too late for him. He's almost 800k.
Yeah, price is too high. You're better off going to a Lomax or to, I don't know, like somewhere else.
I mean, Joey Manu is basically the same price, and I think he's a really good buy purchase.
Yep.
Given he's a New Zealander, won't play Origin, good buy schedule. He's got, I think, the third most points of any player, so I'm really keen on him. Mm-hmm. And we'll play fullback when Tedesco plays Origin, which we assume he will. But we're not sure.
I think it should be Edwards. We can argue about that later.
Look, I tend to agree, but we'll wait. It's a new coach. We don't know what's happening. Either way, one of them will probably be a really good purchase for round 13.
Yeah, whichever one misses out.
Yeah. And I'm hoping it's Edwards because I bought him last week. But he does. In all seriousness, he does deserve to be in Origin.
He does.
Sam Walker, 45 last week, is the most popular buy. I went with Burton. I'm pretty happy that I did it so far, but then obviously the buy's coming up. It's going to even out a little bit.
It's what Sam does. He has a moderate game, then big game, moderate game, big game. If you buy him, just ride the roller coaster. If you missed out, don't be too devastated. Yeah.
Do you own Angus Crichton?
Yes.
And what are you going to do with him over Origin?
I don't know. My second row is my worst spot. It's my sort of biggest area of weakness. I've got Katoa, Crichton, and Pierce Paul. So, I'll probably need to get one more good player in there. I just don't know who it is. I'm going to wait and see what the Origin teams are.
Yep. I'm leaning towards holding at this point, but as I said, anything can happen next week. You've got 3 trades next week, plus if you boost, if you've got them left, and I know Rob Sutherland doesn't, you could have 4 trades next week. So, again, repeating what I've said before, if you don't have to trade this week, just hold off. Wait and see. That's going to be a very different Supercoach landscape next week. On to the Sharkies. What do we have there? Same 17.
Looks like it. Yeah, stability is a catch cry. Nico's still there. Braden Trindle listed, but I can't see why.
So Nico, if he makes Origin, and it looks like he's close to a certainty...
Yeah.
Misses 4 of 8 games.
Yeah.
So it's an okay buy schedule, but not the best. But he is obviously right up there with the best players in Supercoach this year. He's only 1 point, I think, per game less than Dylan Edwards. So he's killing it. Is he worth selling at all? I mean, he's worth over $1 million, so you can sell him and make a lot of money.
But then how are you going to get him back? That's the issue.
I'm not condoning this. I'm saying hold. But I'm just saying devil's advocate. Would you sell?
No, because he is $1 million, and because it's going to be very hard to find that money to get him back. If you go and buy Sam Walker at $600,000. Hines would have to have a lot of bad games to slide down towards Walker money, and Walker would have to have a lot of good games to get up there. So, yeah, you'll spend the difference, and then you'll find yourself in a hole having to try to find a way to get back to Nico. So, no.
At the Panthers, they got Scott Sorensen returning to the starting team, which is good news because they've got him in a draft league. Liam Henry returns from concussion, and he's going to be a crucial extra number for me in the upcoming bye period, that's for sure.
You're running desperate when 25 off the bench is that important.
Well, look, I've said stuff the buys all year, and I'm sticking to it. So I will cop a little bit of hit in round 13 to go well in these rounds before and after the buys.
How about a sour Ivan Cleary sacking Luke Garner, who was one of the most popular buys last week?
He's actually
and it was
a big
like
call,
all he
isn't
needs
it?
to do is play last week. He'll maybe go to the bench this week. He'll play the week after when Liam Martin goes to the Blues. You'll all be good. And he goes and drops him, which is probably not the worst thing for SuperCoach. In it, he's not going to sit on the bench and maybe not lose you some money, make you some money. Hopefully, he starts next week and.
An interesting move by the Rabbitohs. They've got Jack Whiten into the halves and Cody Walker at halfback. So
you got
that's
two
one to
left-hand
watch.
halves. I don't hate it. And then you got Latrell working down the left. The right-hand side's going to feel a little. It's going to be bereft of ball.
And of course, I think which side's Gagai on? I think he was playing on the right on the weekend.
He's on the right.
Only
AJ
got
on the left.
17. Yeah, only got
only
17
needs one more
points.
try to move equal with Billy Slater, I think, into the second most
Yep.
tries of all time. So I would put money on him getting there this week.
Yep, Gagai only 17 points is the most popular cheapie last week, so that didn't quite work out. At the Eels, Trent Barrett has... What's he done?
He hasn't gone
Stuck to
dramatic.
his team?
Yeah, it's much the same.
So is Maddo back? He is. He's
Maddo's
straight back in. Yeah.
Cardi to the bench, Moretti out, which is a shame because Luca Moretti is one of their better. It just gives them real impact. But Talangi's there, which is the main thing. SuperCoach.
And as we predicted, Gabor had the story over the weekend. Mitch Moses is not there, so you'd have to think unlikely for Origin. They would want to see him run around at least once before Origin.
Yeah.
So they can pretty much rule him out of Origin contention, which means Nico's essentially locked in. It's probably someone like Burton is pretty much locked in the 17 somewhere.
You'd have to think so. It's a real, it's Walker, Keary, who are the other 5'8"s? Luai. Yeah. I don't know. None of them really appeal. Maybe Keary.
On to the Bronx. So the mail there was that all their three big guns would be back in Reece Walsh, Payne Haas.
Payne Haas is there. Walsh is there.
And Billy Walters, of course.
Big gun Billy.
We can class as a big gun these days. So good news on Walsh. What are you doing with Walsh over Origin? Because you do own him, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I bought him in and held him last week through the knee soreness. I'm going to play him this week, but I mean, he could be on the chopping block going forward.
For me, it'll depend who gets picked for New South Wales. I mean, I'm hoping it's Edwards so I can pick up Teddy.
Yep, fair enough.
If not, I'll probably try to find Edwards' money.
On to the Titans. They've got Tom Weaver named to start at halfback.
As opposed to the ridiculousness that they saw last time.
Jamin Jolliffe is definitely out with that pec injury, which is a bit of a blow for
his
your
Origin
man.
ambitions. Yep.
And obviously, David Fafita.
David Fafita's going great. Bo Firma's just quietly pumped out consecutive 70s.
Yeah,
Bo Firma's
solid.
He's
Very
doing
solid.
what we were all hoping he was going to do when we bought him at the start of the year. And, unsurprisingly, it took him a few weeks of football to re-find his speed. Now he's doing what we all sold him.
I still don't understand how David Fafita is at 12% ownership.
Because he's so expensive. And he's going to go play Origin.
What an absolute weapon. I'm so
look
glad.
at you basking in your glory.
That I own David Fafita. Warriors, triple boosts. So they got Rocco Berry, Murata Niokore, and Freddie Lussick all back on deck. But Wade Egan is out with that concussion, which looked pretty bad on the weekend, and he's copped a few of them. So who knows? It could be an extended stint for him. Mm-hmm. Is Tohu back in the team? He is not.
Tohu.
No Tohu, which
is odd because it was just a finger, right?
Yeah.
There's no point in me doing air quotes, not showing it. It was just a finger. Torpeki's still there. Nickel Klokstad was awesome at 6. Exactly what we like a Joey Manu-esque, Just move him in where he gets more ball, and he just does more with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Very
he pretty
good.
much played like a fullback, but didn't have the 6 on. Oh, he did have the 6 on his back,
Yeah.
didn't he? Had the 6 on his back and made, I think it was 16 runs in that game, which is pretty similar to what he does at fullback.
Yeah.
And good game, and they got the victory. So it was a good little move by Andrew Webster, the coach. Onto the Dolphins, Max Plath. Is he back?
He is back,
He
baby.
is.
Which is good, because I held him only through sort of force. And Lemuelu, who is a really trendy... You know, you get these... the podcast and the online sort of vibe guy of the week.
Yeah.
Connolly Lemuelu is the vibe guy of this week, and yet he's now on the bench.
He's benched, yeah. So the chat was
maybe
that
not so
he
vibe.
would retain that starting spot as an edge back row where he played 80 minutes. But they've got Felice Kafusi back on that edge.
Yeah.
Kafusi switched to prop last week. There were some weird rotations going on there. I don't know if I can trust Lemuelu
I think
in
the
his
return of
position in the
Plath-
team. I don't know what the rotation is looking at this team. I don't know if I can trust whether Lemuelu will play 80 minutes or even 60 minutes, so I'm going to avoid.
Yeah, and while we're talking about, Dolphins second rowers, Ewan Aitken, who I poo-pooed as being way too boring to put into your team, just keeps scoring tries in a really boring way.
good,
And while
He's
we're here,
underrated.
it's another chance for me to do a mea culpa. I said Hamiso Tabuai-Fadu was the stupidest purchase of the week, and he went and cracked out a 90.
I still think that he is a
still think it's a
stupid
mistake.
purchase because looking at the Dolphins' draw, they have the best draw over Origin of any team for people who don't play Origin. So they play all 3 big bye rounds. That means Max Plath is going to be great for you. JMK will probably be really good. That's Jeremy Marshall-King, the hooker. If you're looking to sell Harry Grant or get a second hooker in, he's the guy. And his schedule works perfectly with Grant so that you'll have a hooker every week, essentially. But Hamiso plays Origin. He's almost locked in, and he's going to miss 5 games over this Origin period.
He still scored 90 and made me look... Well, no, I'd made myself look like an idiot, but Hamiso,
I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
He's one of the most popular purchases this week, and I don't think it makes any sense.
Well, I'm not going to write him off because he'll go and score another 90.
On to the... Oh, that's it?
That's it.
So that's it. We're all done. So Knights are on the bye, so it's important to point out that David Armstrong, in particular, is on the bye, and
I
Kai
don't
Pearce-Paul as well.
own Armstrong. It's very disappointing. You own him, don't you?
I do, yeah. I'm pretty happy.
I missed that one.
I'm just going to load up the questions. So while I'm loading them up, can you talk about Kai Pearce-Paul and the fact that he went from being benched into the starting side and playing 80 minutes?
Well, that's what Barry Dick said was going to happen. He said he was being rested for...
Barry Dick.
Barry Dick?
Did you say Barry Dick?
Did I?
Barry Toohey.
Barry Toohey. Barry Dick. He used to
He
write
used to
for us
work.
years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah,
didn't
he was at the Courier Mail.
Sorry, Barry. Toohey and Dick. I'm throwing myself. Toohey said that Pearce-Paul was being arrested for workload reasons, and that's what happened. And that Frizzell is much more capable of being that sort of edge who plays the middle. So, he went great, Pearce-Paul. I'm quite happy owning him, and I'll be holding him despite the bye.
Questions are coming in on Facebook Live or YouTube Live as well. Obviously, Munster is the guy who's dominating much of the chat. Munster for who? It's boring, but Dylan Brown has an incredible bye schedule, not eligible for Origin. He's starting to hit some form too. He started pretty slowly, but he's worked into it really nicely this season. It's boring, but I think he is the best replacement.
He's the like for like. Weeks if you're looking for a cash run who can help you in the bye, but he's not Dylan Brown.
Reece Robson, a lot of questions about him. Do you think he plays Origin? Does he squeeze into that team?
I think he does. I think Maguire will pick him as a sort of a muscly hooker, whereas Arpey is more of a crafty hooker. My gut says that Robson gets in there, but I have been wrong about pretty much every Origin selection issue ever. So don't listen to me.
Dragons are very relevant for the bye period, and you just skip them. That is poor form. That's
It's not true. We mentioned them. We just had nothing nice to say.
Yeah,
I mean, Lomax is the dragon
the guy,
that's interesting,
yeah.
but
And I
he's
don't
got to
think-
be some risk of being picked for Origin.
I think there are better centre options, to be honest. Although the left centre looks like it has more people going for it than the right centre.
He could go to the wing as well.
That's true. Very true. That's about it, I reckon. That's all our questions ticked off. There are heaps more, but a lot of them are not repeatable. So catch you.
What's Rob been drinking? I can tell you a lot.
We'll catch you on Thursday for the preview podcast. See you then.